Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
M&C Saatchi, one of the world's top advertising firms, was founded by the Saatchi brothers in 1995. Mr. Moray Maclennan, who has been with the company since its inception, is a lifelong Saatchi employee. As the global CEO, he takes an aggressive expansion approach in building the company into the multi-million-dollar empire it is today. In early 2010, M&C Saatchi entered the gateway to Africa, opening offices in both Cape Town and Johannesburg. Moray Maclennan recently visited Cape Town, and we had the opportunity to sit down with him. Welcome to Captains of Industry. I'm Ashley Evans, filling in for Lorato and Bella. The advertising market continues to recover post-recession, but growth this last year has taken a dip as a response to economic pressures. M&C Saatchi, the global advertising agency, is the youngest, fastest-growing agency in the world, and I'm joined by the man behind it all, worldwide CEO, Mr. Moray Maclennan. Thank you so much for joining us. Moray, you started off by studying law, and then you made the move into the advertising world. Take me back to those early days.
I think there were two main reasons that I didn't pursue law as a career. One is that I wasn't fascinated by it, and I think you need to be fascinated by what you do if you're going to be really successful at it. The other was much more practical. To be a barrister, which is what I wanted to be, an advocate in the UK, you need to study for a further 2 years, and I wanted to earn some money immediately. But you know, it's interesting though, I don't think they're so different in some ways. I always think that being an advertising person is like being an advocate. I mean, you are an advocate, in effect, for your client's business. To the extent that what we used to do with our creative people, we used to give them copies of the film, 12 Angry Men, shot in whenever it was, the 50s, where basically, because it's a fantastic piece of advocacy, someone persuading all these people of their case, and that's what we do.
So what was your driving force? You moved from something so factual to something so creative.
Well, I think, as I said, there are some similarities. I think you need to be creative to be a lawyer. You need to have a lively, imaginative brain. But what really fascinated me about advertising is, behind it all, ultimately, it's about people. And it's about getting insights into people. It's understanding their relationships with brands, products, services, and the variety of it. It's everything from washing powder through to political parties, through to charities, services. We handle obesity campaigns, we handle political parties. And that sheer variety of subject matter is endlessly fascinating.
At 26, you were the board's youngest director, and then in 1995, there was a big change when the Saatchi brothers were forced out in a boardroom putsch. Tell me about the story. It
was an extraordinary time. It was the lead item on the national news, this great schism that happened, because it was an incredibly high-profile company. The Saatchi name was then and is now the most famous name in the world when it comes to advertising. And what happened was the money men, a fund manager in New York, decided that Saatchi and Saatchi would be better off without the brothers. He was wrong. You only have to look at what happened to the company after we and they left to know that he was wrong. But yes, I had a decision to make. I was being offered a top role because they had left in the Saatchi and Saatchi company. And Morris called me, actually, I remember it very well. And I said, if I stay here another day, I'm staying here forever, because I have to stand up tonight and tell the company, you're the past, we are the future. And if I do that, I will stay. He said, I completely understand, which is why when we finish this conversation, you need to put the phone down and come and see me and not go back. And then he put the phone down.
Now, you moved with them to start M&C Saatchi. This obviously took an incredible amount of loyalty on your side, and there was also some risk involved. Tell me about those days. How difficult was it?
Well, I remember, I mean, what we said, and I think the reason behind me leaving was we said that we didn't leave the company, it left us. And I think that's really why I left. The people controlling it were people who didn't understand the business, didn't understand the brand, didn't understand what made it what it was and at the time, and I think what we are now. They didn't get it. And so, yes, I did leave from running the biggest advertising agency in the UK by some margin to trying to fix a coffee machine with three of us sitting in a flat somewhere in London. And yes, sometimes one looked at each other and thought, what have we done? But in the end, it's worked out.
In 2008, you were promoted to the newly created role of Chief Executive of M&C Saatchi Worldwide. That you're faced with the burdensome task of expanding the business. How did you go about doing that?
First and foremost, it's about talent. There's no great secret. It's the simple truths which hold sway. You need talent. You will not succeed if you have the second best. You will always come second. So what I wanted to do was expand the network to an optimum amount of offices around the world, because I think a network for today's digital age does not need the 150 offices that some of the networks had who were pre-digital. It's a bit like the Victorians when they had factories in every country. You don't need factories in every country now. But you probably need, we could argue about how many, I think between 20 and 30 offices is an optimum number of offices. So I built the network from, I think it was about 12 or 13 then, pretty rapidly. So I opened 10 offices across the last 2 or 3 years, probably a bit more than that. And that was my first task, to find the talent, decide where it was strategically important, and do that geographically, but also to look at develop new disciplines. So you have geography and you have disciplines. And the new disciplines, everyone will be aware of what these are. The most recent, of course, are social media, but mobile media, digital analytics, data, PR, sports and entertainment, sponsorship. So making sure that one had the full set of geographical locations and full set of capabilities. That was my plan.
What have some of the major milestones been for you during M&C Saatchi's development?
Well, in the early days, we started in '95, and a milestone was the winning of British Airways and Qantas worldwide in our first 3 months. So that was extraordinary, that 10 people sitting in an office could take on the might of the biggest networks in the world in a pitch and win. We had to have 6 offices around the world. We had 10 people sitting in London. But we pulled it off, and all the stories of that remarkable pitch were true. We hired actors, we hired actresses, we hired our office. The client sort of knew what we were doing. We had a very good-looking agency, because they were all from model agencies. And we struck the set after the pitch, and they all went home. And we won. And they awarded us the business. They sort of knew what we were doing, but I think they admired the chutzpah. That was a big milestone, because it meant that we were international from birth. We were not a little creative hotshop starting up in Soho in London. We were an international advertising agency from birth. I think the only one, because which client is going to give a bunch of 2 or 3 people their international business? So that was a key milestone. I think through to becoming a PLC 6 years ago, that was another milestone for us. And then I think last year, which sort of coincided with opening offices here, over the last 6 months is another milestone where the network, I think, is pretty much complete. And I'm not saying we'll never open another office, but it's pretty much complete.
You're up against the likes of global networks like TBWA and Ogilvy. Give me a strategic glimpse into how you've grown your market share.
We have a completely different model, not acquisition-based as in the Saatchi and Saatchi days. The people we have are with us because they want to be with us, not because they've been bought. So it's a startup business model, which produces a completely different culture, an entrepreneurial culture, different way of working together. It's quite difficult to manage from time to time, but what you can then offer clients is completely different. And clients they're just like consumers. They like choice. People like choice. It's a human truth. And we offer something completely different in terms of our structure, but also because of the culture, more importantly, and how we work together. And for some clients, we may not be everyone's cup of tea, every multinational company's cup of tea, but we are some, and we are different. So I think we offer an alternative.
Most of your business is based on local clients. What have you done to make this an international business?
Well, referring back to the business model, what we do is we have owner managers. So what we do is we leave the management in a country with a large minority stake, anything from 20 to 49%. And then it's a matter, so their priority is, they eat what they kill. If they don't kill anything, they go out of business. They haven't been fed by the central office. So they can't just adapt or translate work from the US, for example. They have to be successful locally. So it gives you quite a different shape to the business. You have to have strong agencies who are creative and capable of winning in their own marketplace. Now, as you refer to, that makes it an interesting organization to manage, because these are people who have escaped, if you like, the tyranny of wherever they were before. They may see it like that, and they want greater freedom to do what they want to do. So I like to think I have a relatively light hand on the tiller. And then it's, we sometimes, I think it was our French agency who said, we're not an advertising network, we're a federation of entrepreneurs. And it is that, and it is that. But what you do is you make sure you work with people you like, you trust, and you rate. And if you find those people, then they're easy to stitch together. And we only ask our people to do one thing specifically, which is to believe and deliver on our central mantra. Everyone has their thing, we have our thing. And ours is a strategic thought, which is the brutal simplicity of thought, and the belief in the necessity to deliver simplicity to our clients, to distill what they have, which is often complex communication and business issues, into something simple and deliverable. And so we like to think of ourselves as almost like an intellectual threshing machine, which separates the wheat from the chaff, and to deliver our clients simplicity at the end of that and through communications. So we need people to believe in that and to deliver that. And after that, I enjoy the fact that our French agency is very French and we don't produce jelly mold type people. Our South African Cape Town office will be very of Cape Town and very South African. It makes for a more interesting worldwide meeting when we get together.
We have to take a break, but when we come back, we hear about the future of the industry in Africa.